After hosting a small backyard memorial for my brother, I found a letter in our mailbox from the HOA. Formal complaint, public display of grief. Unregistered event. Violation. My neighbor had filed it. I walked over, still in black, and asked why. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "He didn't serve anyone. Why should we serve his memory?" But when I talked to her son later that week, he said something that made my blood freeze. "She's mad because she loved him once. And he left her. For good reason." So my brother Jake died last month. A car crashed just outside Champaign, Illinois. A rainy Thursday night. Some high school kid blew through a red light in a lifted truck and T-boned Jake's old Subaru. Cops said he didn't feel a thing. Died on impact. Jake was 39. Never married. No kids. Worked at the hardware store for 15 years. He wasn't a soldier or a cop or any kind of hero, by the world's standards. But he was mine. He raised me after our parents died in a house fire when I was 16. He put his life on hold to keep me out of foster care. After the crash, I didn't know what to do. We didn't have family. I didn't have money for a big funeral. So I hosted a small memorial in our backyard, just a few friends, some old neighbors, and coworkers. We shared memories, played Springsteen, Jake's favorite, and lit some candles. That was it. The next day, I found a letter in our mailbox. HOA letterhead. Formal complaint, public display of grief. Unregistered event. Violation. I read it twice because I thought it had to be a joke. It wasn't. Filed by Marla Eston, lot number 43. Marla. My neighbor 2 houses down. She's retired. Used to be a principal. Always prunes her hedges like it's a damn competition. She's the type who files noise complaints when a dog barks twice. I stood on her porch still wearing black. I hadn't even changed since the memorial. When she answered, she didn't even act surprised to see me. I said, "Why would you do this?" She crossed her arms. "He didn't serve anyone. Why should we serve his memory?" She said it like she was talking about some stranger. Not a man she'd known most her life. I couldn't even respond. I just turned and walked away. But something about it stuck with me. The way she said it. Like it meant something more. A few days later, I ran into her son Darren. He's around my age, maybe 36 or 37. Works for a landscaping company. Always been polite, keeps to himself. We chatted near the mailboxes, mostly small talk. Then, out of nowhere, he says, "I'm sorry about Jake. My mom had no right to do that." I shrugged. "It's done." He hesitated. Looked like he was about to say something, then shook his head. "What?" I asked. "She's still mad because she loved him. A long time ago. He left her. For good reason." I didn't know what to say. My jaw just sort of dropped. He looked away and said, "You should talk to someone who knew him back then. Maybe Sam. Or Dave. They'd know more." I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't stop thinking about what Darren said. My brother never talked much about his past. I knew he dated someone before we moved away when I was in high school, but I never knew who. Now I was starting to think it was Marla. And that she never got over it. And worse, that maybe there was a reason she shouldn't have. I couldn't shake it. The thought of my neighbor, Marla Eston, being in love with my brother Jake made my skin crawl. Not because of the age thing, though there was a bit of that. She was about 12 years older than Jake. But because of how she acted. Cold. Distant. Spiteful. I started asking questions. First, I called Sam, the guy Jake used to hang out with after work. They'd been close in their 20s, and Sam still lived over in Mahomet. I asked if he could meet for coffee. We sat down at the Coffee Hound on Neal Street. I didn't dance around it. "Did Jake ever date Marla Eston?" Sam's expression changed fast. Like I'd just asked him if Jake used to rob banks. "Jesus," he said. Where the hell did that come from? I told him what Darren said. The letter. Her words. The whole thing. He leaned back and rubbed his jaw. They weren't just dating, he said. She was obsessed with him. That word hit hard. Obsessed? Sam nodded. They started seeing each other after your parents died. You were still a teenager, so Jake was staying with some relatives and Marla would help out. Bring food, groceries, whatever. It turned into more. My stomach dropped. I didn't remember that. But then again, I was grieving. I was angry and confused. I probably blocked a lot out. She got possessive, Sam continued. Always checking up on him. Calling. Showing up at the store. She hated when he went out with friends. He told me once she showed up at your school to spy on him while he was picking you up. That's unhinged. Jake thought so too. He ended it. Clean. No drama. Just said it wasn't right. She was livid. I sat in silence for a minute, trying to process. Sam looked at me and said, I think she thought she'd marry him. He was young, she wasn't. And when he walked away, she took it personal. The memorial, the complaint, her words, it all made sense now. She wasn't just angry at Jake. She was still punishing him. But it wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up to find our mailbox pried open. The memorial photos I'd taped to the back gate were ripped down and torn up on the lawn. Our trash bin had been pushed over and the bag slid open. I had a gut feeling. I checked the camera I'd set up near the garage for deliveries. There she was. Marla. 3:14 a.m. black hoodie. Garden gloves. I stared at the footage, heart pounding. This wasn't grief. This wasn't pettiness. It was hate. And I knew right then, I wasn't letting her get away with it. I called the police. I showed them the video of Marla tearing up the photos and rifling through our mailbox. The officer took notes and promised to follow up, but he didn't seem too interested. Said it was probably just a neighbor dispute. She vandalized my property and went through my mail. That's not a dispute. That's harassment. I pressed him harder, but he finally shrugged and said, Look, she's old, and there's no serious damage. If I were you, I'd just try to let it go. Let it go. I didn't tell him this, but letting go is what got us here. Jake let go of her years ago, and she never did. Now he was dead, and she was still trying to hurt him, and me, any way she could. I went straight home and called a lawyer. I didn't care what it cost. I wanted to file a restraining order and press charges. Enough was enough. While the lawyer was preparing the paperwork, I started digging deeper into Marla. Darren had said he left her. For good reason. What did that mean? I checked court records. Nothing came up for her in Champaign County. But when I searched her maiden name, thanks to a tip from Sam, I found something buried in another county. 22 years ago. Restraining order. Filed by a man named Thomas Keegan. Violation of protection order. Dismissed after 6 months. I didn't recognize the name, so I looked him up. Jake's old boss at Ace Hardware. I sat there staring at the screen, heart racing. What the hell had she done? I tracked down Thomas Keegan on Facebook. He looked older now, white beard, glasses, but his name was right. I messaged him. He responded within a few hours. Is this about Jake? He wrote. I told him yes, and he asked if I could talk on the phone. When we spoke, his voice cracked a little. I still can't believe he's gone. I asked him about Marla. He sighed. She had a thing for Jake, even back when he started at Ace. I didn't know it at first. Then she'd come into the store every day. Bringing lunch, staying to talk. He was polite, but she kept pushing. Finally, he told her to stop coming by. What happened then? She accused him of stealing from the store. Filed a report with corporate. Even sent in fake receipts. What? I knew it was fake. Jake was one of the most honest kids I ever met. But corporate got scared. They put him on probation. That's when I filed for the restraining order. Not just for Jake, for me too. She started harassing me after I defended him. Jesus. That's why we moved, I said, realization hitting me like a truck. Yup, Thomas said. Jake didn't want you around any of that. Said he'd rather quit than have you see him dragged through the mud. I sat in silence. He never really got over that betrayal, Thomas added. And I think she never forgave him for walking away. This woman didn't just hate Jake for rejecting her. She tried to destroy his life for it. She almost succeeded. And now she was trying again. Through me. But this time, she picked the wrong sibling. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was focused. Every lie she told about Jake, every cruel word, every petty act, I was going to dig it up and drag it into daylight. She wanted to shame his memory? Fine. I'd bury her reputation under the truth. I filed the restraining order. The lawyer helped me press charges for mail tampering and vandalism. The video footage was enough to move it forward. But I didn't stop there. I made copies of the old court record, the restraining order filed by Jake's boss. I pulled the fake receipts she'd submitted to corporate back then, which Thomas had kept all these years in a folder labeled Eston Evidence. I wrote a full account of what she'd done to Jake 20 years ago, what she did to me now, and I mailed it, along with evidence packets, to every single house in our neighborhood. I watched the looks on people's faces as they checked their mailboxes that Saturday. One woman across the street stared at the papers in her hands, then looked over at Marla's house with disgust. She tried to get ahead of it. Walked around the next day in a church dress, holding her little purse, knocking on doors, smiling wide. Saying it was all a smear campaign by a grieving woman who couldn't accept the HOA's rules. But it didn't work. 2 families filed complaints against her to the HOA. She was asked to step down from the garden club. One neighbor started a petition to have her removed from the HOA board altogether. I signed it. Still, she held her ground. Cold. Stubborn. Delusional. Then something I didn't expect happened. Darren came to my door. He looked torn up. Not angry, but sad. My mom's not well, he said. Hasn't been for years. I believed him. She fixates. She twists things. I should have said something a long time ago. I nodded. Jake protected me from her. I didn't even know. Darren swallowed hard. He was a good man. And I think she knew that. That's what made her hate him. I didn't say much else. I could see in his face he was hurting too. For his mom, for the truth, for the damage he caused. The last time I saw Marla, she was standing in her driveway, holding a for sale sign. Her house had been egged the night before. Probably some teenagers, maybe someone from the neighborhood with a long memory. I didn't condone it, but I didn't feel sorry either. She locked eyes with me. Not a word. Just a cold stare. But this time, I didn't look away. She moved out 2 weeks later. I still visit Jake's grave every Sunday. I bring black coffee and sit in the grass. I talk to him like he's sitting beside me. And sometimes I smile, because I know he'd be proud I didn't let her rewrite his story. I didn't let her win. She tried to bury his memory. But I made damn sure everyone saw the truth before the dirt could settle.